In this assignment, we're going to estimate a regression line using Excel's trend line, some Excel functions, and our high-low method. And then finally, we'll estimate cost at 2,000 occupancy days. First step is we need to estimate or put together a scatter graph of our data points. So we're going to highlight our units and our cost, including our headings. Go up to Insert, Scatter Graph, select our scatter graph. And now we've got our graph. We can format it. Let's go up to Layout, Axis, Horizontal Axis. Below, we've got units or occupancy days. Again, we'll come up to our axis titles, vertical axis, rotated title. We'll put our electrical cost. Okay. Once we have our chart, we can move that down into the section on our worksheet for that particular thing and increase its size if you want. But the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add a trend line, or basically a regression line. If you right-click on one of the data points, you'll have a pop-up box, and we want to come down to Add a Trend Line. We're going to add a linear trend line, and we would like to display the equation of that line on our chart. So now we'll hit Close. There is the equation of our line. So first thing we do from our regression line, what is the estimated fixed cost? Our estimated fixed cost is 1352.2. We can't link that, by the way. And our variable cost is 1.5557. 1.5557. And again, it's important to note that this is something that will not change when we change our data. We would find our data points will line change, but if we want to re-estimate the line, we have to go add the trend line again. So again, if I were to change this to 5,000, my trend line will change, my equation will change right here, but since I don't have these linked, they do not change. Which means probably a better way to do it would be to use some Excel functions. We've got an intercept function, equals int, and you can start typing that in, and all of a sudden you'll see that intercept comes up. Click on that. The known y's. Now, we can either work here, or if we want, probably be a little easier if you click the FX button, and you'll have a pop-up box. Our known y's, remember that is our dependent variable. We're trying to predict our electrical cost, and we're trying to do that based on occupancy days. Now I hit OK. Notice I've got the same estimated fixed cost. The difference, though, is now if I were to change one of my data points, my fixed cost here will change. Much better situation. Let's use Excel's slope function, equals SLOPE parenthesis, and again, any point in time we could go up and click our function wizard. Again, our known y's, that is our electrical cost. Our known x's is our occupancy levels. And now we've got the slope. Let's go ahead and use our high-low method. In this case, we want to use Excel's max function to pick off the high number of units, equals max, parenthesis. And again, we could pull up the function wizard if we wanted. In terms of this, our numbers, we don't have to do them individually. We could click on different numbers separated. They don't have to be next to each other, but since in this case all of our numbers are all equally or next to each other, we can just highlight our range. We want to pick up the maximum occupancy. Hit OK. And maximum occupancy is 2,510. We want to use the same function to pick up our cost, equals max, parenthesis, and then just go up and highlight our cost, and it will pick up the high cost value. Now, one thing I have a note here, this is really important. Normally, we wouldn't want to use the minimum max functions in this way as we are in this assignment, as the month with the highest units might not necessarily correspond to the month with the highest cost. For instance, let's say that my high cost had occurred right here at $8,000 in the month of April. Notice we'll pick up the April cost, but the March units. So we're just making use of this in this particular case to expose you to those two functions. We probably wouldn't want to do it. Let's use the min function to pick up the minimum number of units, equals min, parenthesis, highlight the units, close parenthesis, pick up the minimum cost, equals min, highlight the costs, close parenthesis, and we've picked up the minimum cost. Now let's pick up the change, units minus low units, and I can copy that across. The changing cost divided by the change in activity is my variable cost per unit. So I've got my cost divided by units. My cost is $1.52 per occupancy day. Notice, not the same as the Excel's regression function, because in the high-low, we're only making use of these two data points. We're ignoring the data provided by all of the other data points. So our regression is clearly more accurate. Let's pick up our high cost. There's our high cost. Our variable cost per unit. Number of units, 2,510. Our total variable cost, 2,510 units, times 1.528. Gives us our variable component. Our fixed is simply the difference between our total and our variable. So now let's go ahead and estimate our occupancy for 2,000 units. Use an algebraic equation. Equals our fixed cost plus our variable cost per unit times 2,000 units. If we had used Excel's linear estimate function, equals linest, parenthesis, and again, estimate a line. Let's go with our known y's. Our known y's were our electrical cost. And again, at any point in time, we can click on FX to have our box pop up. Our known x's. Actually, we're going to use Excel's forecast function. So equals FOR. And there we've got the forecast. We can click on it. And our first term is what we want is going to be our x value, then our known y's, and then our known x's. Again, let's pull up our pop-up box by hitting our function wizard. We want to forecast at 2,000 occupancy days. Our known y's right there. Our known x's, or independent variable, right there. Hit OK, and there we have it. Had we actually used our slope coefficients from our regression forecast above, instead of using our high-low values, we would have gotten the same values right there. So if we had gone equals fixed cost from our regression estimate plus variable cost times units, we get the exact same value as if we had used Excel's forecast function. You can leave it this way using our estimates from above, or your slope and intercept using your high-low function. Either one is fine.